Good morning, everybody. Welcome back for a second day of hearing on Ms. Bondi's nomination for Attorney General. As I said yesterday, I want everyone to be able to watch the hearing without obstruction. If people stand up and block the views of others behind them, or if they speak out of turn, it's not fair or considerate to others. So officers will remove individuals as they have previously. We didn't have any of these problems yesterday. I don't anticipate it today, but I just think we ought to make everything pretty clear. Before we begin with opening statements from the panel, I want to go through a couple of bookkeeping items and explain how we're going to proceed today. I will give an opening statement and introduce the majority witnesses, and I'll give the opportunity to Senator Durbin to provide an opening statement and introduce his witnesses. Then we will turn to our witnesses for their opening statements. Following their statements, we will begin with the first round of questions in which each senator will have 5 minutes. Yesterday, we met from 9:30 until 3 p.m. so that every senator, both Democrat and Republican, could question Ms. Bondi. We heard from Senator Scott and Schmidt, who gave their strong endorsement of Ms. Bondi. Their introductions described her extensive experience, outstanding qualifications, and character. Yesterday's testimony showed that Ms. Bondi is certainly experienced and capable to serve as our nation's chief law enforcement officer at this very critical time. She is very well qualified for the position, serving 18 years as prosecutor and 8 years as Attorney General for the state of Florida. Florida, the third most populous state in our nation. She will enact desperately needed changes at a department that has been politicized and weaponized for partisan ends. With almost 30 years of experience behind her, she will restore both morale and law and order to the department badly needed, in need of strong leadership. Her commitment to the rule of law emerged as a central theme of our discussions yesterday, and as I made clear in my opening statement yesterday, that is what I believe the department in this country desperately needs. Today, the purpose is to hear from an outside panel of witnesses, and we're grateful that all of you are here this morning to express your views on this nominee. I will go ahead and introduce the three majority witnesses before I turn over to Ranking Member Durbin. First is Dave Ehrenberg. Until just a few days ago, Mr. Ehrenberg was the elected Democrat state attorney for Florida's 15th Judicial District. He served in that role for 3 terms since he was elected in 2012. Mr. Ehrenberg also previously served in the Florida State Senate and as a White House fellow in both Clinton and Bush administrations at the Treasury Department. He has known Ms. Bondi since 2010 when he ran to be the Attorney General of Florida, a position Ms. Bondi obviously won. Notwithstanding their political differences, Ms. Bondi appointed Mr. Ehrenberg to be her drug czar to combat the opioid epidemic, and through that work, he came to know Ms. Bondi very well. Second, we have Mr. Nicholas Cox, who is Florida's longest-serving statewide prosecutor. He has served in that role since 2011. In his capacity as statewide prosecutor, Mr. Cox focuses on cases involving human trafficking, drug abuse, fraud, organized crime, gang violence, cyber crimes, and crimes against seniors. Mr. Cox also previously served a member of the faculty of Stetson University College of Law, where he taught trial advocacy, consumer law, counseling and negotiations, and criminal procedure. Mr. Cox has extensively experienced observing Ms. Bondi's work as a lawyer and administrator. Ms. Bondi began her career as an intern in his office while serving as Attorney General. She pointed him to his current office. Third and last, we have Sheriff Emery Gainey, a career law enforcement officer with more than 40 years' experience. Sheriff Gainey has served as the sheriff of 2 counties in Florida. When Ms. Bondi served as Attorney General, he served as her Director of Law Enforcement and Director of Victim Services. Through his work as law enforcement officer in Florida, Sheriff Gainey is very familiar with Mrs. Bondi's work with state, local, and federal law enforcement, as well as her work to address drug abuse, fight human trafficking, and victims of crime. Thanks, all of you, for serving, Senator Durbin.